Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you to David Nairn again, our artistic director for Theatre Orangeville, for that full canvas. This meeting is being aired on public television and on stream live and may be taken for later public broadcast or webcast. Your name is part of the public record and will be included in the minutes of this meeting. We would like to acknowledge the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people, including the Ojibwe, Potawatomi, and Odawa of the Three Fires Confederacy. Today is International Women's Day, and Councillor Post wishes to make a comment. Councillor Post, where are you at?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Today, as we celebrate women around the world, I just wanted to take a moment tonight to celebrate the phenomenal women in our community on International Women's Day 2021. The last event that most of us attended in person was likely Family Transition Place's International Women's Day Luncheon 365 days ago, and we've had quite an incredible year since then. We've really seen women across our nation gain our trust as leaders in the public health, federally, provincially, and especially for us locally. Dr. Mercer has been an absolute champion for the health and safety of our community, and today I wanted to take a moment to celebrate her. Our community is also filled with phenomenal women who are shattering glass ceilings and making it easier for our next generation of women to move forward in the world without gender bias. Please keep being those powerful, strong community voices. Our future absolutely depends on it. To all the women who have taken on tremendous additional challenges this year, such as working from home while helping children to navigate virtual learning, all in a global pandemic, I absolutely commend you. You are incredible. To all the women who are employed by the town of Orangeville, thank you. We're absolutely lucky to have each of you, and we're grateful that you can continue to pivot and respond to the crazy world we're living in. My fellow councillor, Debbie Sherwood, I'm honored to sit at the decision-making table with you. And the theme of this year's International Women's Day is Choose to Challenge. Now, this is meant to inspire everyone to be alert, because when we challenge the norms is when we see change. With all of that said, I want to take a moment to recognize all of the men who are allies for change and who put gender equity at the forefront. I'm grateful for all of my fellow council members who are all choosing to challenge and have unanimously supported every single initiative that has been aimed at making our community more inclusive for everybody. So with that, happy International Women's Day. Thank you for giving me a moment to make a couple of remarks, and hopefully next year we'll be celebrating in person at a luncheon.
Well said, Lisa, well said. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Post. The town council was in a closed session earlier. We're going to rise and report out of that meeting, and that is that the 2021-0 February 8, 2021 closed council minutes be approved. That a confidential report CPS 2021-011 committee appointments be received, and that Mike Beattie be appointed as the BIA representative on Heritage Orangeville, that Peter Ross be appointed as the Blues and Jazz representative on the Cultural Plan Task Force, that Troy Brett be appointed as the BIA representative on the Business and Economic Development Committee, that staff proceed as directed regarding appointments to the Committee of Adjustment, Property Standards, and Dog Designation Committee, and the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee, that staff bring forward a bylaw to amend the appointment of various boards and committees, bylaw 021-2019, and that the confidential report from Ed Brennan, CAO regarding public office holders regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, labor relations or employment negotiations public office holders be received, and a confidential report from Ed Brennan, CAO, and Mayor Brown regarding a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, multiple property locations, including town lands, be received, and that staff proceed as directed. Okay. And we have a mover for that report. Councillor Andrews, seconded by Councillor Sherwood. Any comments, councillors? All in favor?
Yes.
That's passed unanimously. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on to item number 10, this is the adoption of previous council meeting. This is the February 17th council minutes. May we have a motion to approve those minutes? Councillor Post, seconded by Councillor Taylor. All in favor?
Yes.
Now we're moving on to presentations. 11.1 is a presentation from Kimberly Van Ryn. Mr. Van Ryn, are you with us?
Hi, Council. Hi, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for having me, and happy International Women's Day. I have a very short request that I'm just going to read, and we can go from there. It's in regards to the backyard chicken bylaw. So I'm here representing my own organization, Branching Out Support Services. We're an organization dedicated to supporting individuals and families in our community with neurodiversities and disabilities. As a part of our summer programming, we are looking for highly unique opportunities that will allow our participants to be outside, learn skills, and build community. We are going to be utilizing a Rent-A-Chicken program in cooperation with Timberwind Farms in Clarksburg, Ontario. This program allows us to care for 3 laying hens from May 2021 till October 2021 without having to winter the hens, so they come and bring them back to the farm. Being able to have chickens for our participants to care for allows them to build many functional skills, including animal care, hygiene, space maintenance, responsibility for living creatures, as well as benefit from the many therapeutic opportunities associated with animal care. Since branching out sites are in the downtown core at 5 First Street, we do not have an appropriate green space to keep the hens. We have partnered with Family Transition Place to use their big and fully fenced backyard for the small chicken coop and also give the chickens free range abilities. FTP is completely on board and excited about this project. The women and children at FTP will also be able to benefit from the animals. Family Transition Place is located at 20 Bredon Parkway in Orangeville. Family Transition Place is zoned institutional, meaning it does not qualify as a site that may host backyard chickens according to the town's backyard chicken bylaw. We are respectfully asking Council to make a special amendment to allow this project to move forward using the space in the backyard at Family Transition Place at 20 Bredon Parkway. We have a dedicated group of support professionals, staff, and participants that will care fully for the birds, and we collectively feel that so many in our community will benefit from this project. I have already attended the Sustainability Committee on February 9th, 2021 to present the idea, and they are also supportive of the project. I would ask that Council allow this amendment, and we will keep you fully updated on the progress of our project. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from councillors on this? Or comments? Yes, Deputy Mayor McIntosh.
Yes, thank you, Worship. I think it's a great idea. I'd certainly be in favor of it. Are we allowed to just do an exemption for this one particular place, or do we have to make it across the board?
Madam Clerk.
You can do an exception for this one particular place. It will require Council to pass a bylaw to invoke that exception.
Okay, Councillor Taylor, and then Councillor Sherwood.
Muted.
You're muted, sir.
I'm sorry. Thank you, everyone. So similar to Deputy Mayor McIntosh.
We're frozen.
We're frozen. Oh.
Am I frozen?
No, I think we're okay now, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, sorry. If you could start again, Councilor Taylor. Sorry.
I apologize, everyone. Similar to Deputy Mayor McIntosh, I guess I'm thinking about how many we would have. Would we simply keep the amount of places that are available to have the chickens the same, and then include and make this designation because of the different classification of the property? I don't know if that's through you, Your Worship, to the clerk, or?
Madam Clerk, so I think, was it 30?
Yes, it was 30, so it would be council's decision as to whether they wanted to apply this as being one of the 30 or to increase the amount to 31.
Right. Councilor Peters, I'm going to ask you, you're deeply involved in this. Would we add this on then as 31?
I'm happy to see it go either way. I know at the moment registrations are not bountiful, but I know it hasn't been top of mind for many people. We're anticipating in the spring that that interest may improve. Whether it was 30 or 31, happy to go along with council's thoughts on that one. But I think given the location and nature of the project, it's a good fit.
Councilor Sherwood.
Yes, Your Worship, through you to Ms. Van Ryn, I'm very excited to hear you bring this forward. I think this is just phenomenal for the people that you care for, as well as for Family Transition Place. I would assume then that the you would be sharing the eggs with the Family Transition Place, but that your folks will kind of be doing it through the day, through the week, and will they look after it in the evenings and weekends? Will you be having a volunteer member to look after it in the evenings and weekends?
Ms. Van.
Yeah, so our plan for the evening and weekends, we support a lot of individuals in our community on a one-to-one. So we would be able to have some of those individuals with their support workers go to do evening and weekend care. So the day program would take care of the chickens during the week, and then we would have a fully set schedule. And should there be any gaps, then one of our staff would do that.
Awesome. Well, you'll definitely get my support on that. And just to add about the number of applicants, as Councillor Peters made mention, we haven't reached that point where we have to decide to adjust the number of applicants. So I would be quite in support that this be allocated as one of the 30.
I'd just like to ask Ms. Van Ryn, I haven't seen anything official here from Family Transition Place, from the board. If you're going to have people on their property, there's probably some legal liability, insurance issues, and what have you. So do we have something in writing from Family Transition Place on this?
We don't at this time, but I'm a member of the Family Transition Place Board, so that's a completely different role of how I am presenting here this evening, but is certainly something that I could bring to our board chair if council would like a statement from them. And I'm working with staff in order to create some really good planning around the safety piece, just to make sure that our volunteers are low in number so that we're not inundating FTP with too many people in their backyard. That's really inappropriate, and that we're very easily identifiable so that everyone who volunteers for the chicken project would have a very bright t-shirt, so that the women who stay there, obviously we want to be extremely respectful of this, their home, their private space, that we would be very easily identifiable. But if council would like something from Family Transition Place, I could surely secure that.
Ms. Van Ryn, if you could quote the dates again you wanted to run this from the organization in Clarksburg that you're working with?
Yeah, excuse me. So Timberwind Farms would deliver the chickens probably just right after the May long weekend, and they would pick them up by Thanksgiving. So, and this is probably we're not asking for year over year on this one, so we're just going to pilot it this year from May to October.
Right. So it would seem prudent to me that we ask you to come back maybe at our next meeting with some sort of formal approval from Family Transition Place. But again, it's up to council here. Whether I find it odd that we're approving something when we don't have something formal from the landowner in this case. Councillor Andrews, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Your Worship, and Ms. Van Ryn. Thank you very much for presenting this. Appreciative of the alliance that you have, and I think it's a great initiative at Family Transition Place. To the Worship's point, I think that it's important that some of the due diligence that's needed comes back to Council, and one of those would be including some form of review of maybe best practices, especially as we're still in the pandemic, COVID and PPE and social distancing. How would that end up playing out in this particular case, especially if you're going to have possibly a number of people that would be involved? I think just for the sake of public health assurance, as well as our assurance that that is embedded into however this evolves in the coming days and coming weeks.
Yeah, we could certainly submit our just how we've worked with, we have a great relationship with our public health, they're amazing. But the same requirements for anybody who attends our small group programming on site would be continuous throughout any project we do as we move forward. But I certainly could get something from public health around that as well if that was needed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So I don't know, I still feel that we need to get FTP to weigh in on this officially, folks. I mean, I just think at this point, Ms. Van Ryn, I think everybody's supportive of this, but I think we need to get FTP officially weighing in on this and giving you the approval, and then we would wave you through. I mean, I think it's the chicken before the egg. In this case, so yeah, Councillor Sherwood, you've got your hand up. Go ahead. You're muted, Councillor Sherwood.
Sorry, Your Worship. So could we put forward a motion that we would grant approval of this once we receive confirmation of the partnership, or do you want to approve it once we receive the partnership? This would give Ms. Van Ryn an opportunity to get that letter provided possibly to the clerk, and we've already pre-approved it based on those conditions.
What are your thoughts?
You can certainly do that.
Okay. So Madam Clerk suggesting that we could take that motion, Councillor Sherwood, that pending official, in writing approval from FTP, that we approve the use of this for this summer, summer 2021.
That would be my motion if I have a seconder.
I wonder if we extend this to 2021 and 2022, because is that not our window here? Or is it a 2-year window, Councillor Peters?
I believe it's actually about 2.5. It's or 3, so early 2023. But I don't know if you can see Councillor Taylor's hand up as well. But there'll be several seasons under the pilot program.
Sorry, Councillor Taylor, I don't see you on the screen right now, on my screen. Is your video on, sir?
It is, yeah.
Councillor Taylor?
It is. Can you hear me?
Can you guys all see him? Because I can't. I'm sorry.
I can't see him.
I can't see him. I can only hear him.
Okay, I can see all of you. So,
Councillor Taylor, go ahead. You had your hand up. You want to speak to this?
yes, I would. Thank you, Your Worship. The only thing I wanted to mention is that Councillor Sherwood had kind of nailed it earlier, and I would be comfortable moving this forward contingent upon a letter coming back to us, so Kim doesn't have to come back to council. But I think we should leave it at the 30. There really isn't any reason to go over and above, and if we could do that, I would add that to Councillor Sherwood's motion and certainly second it if that would be amiable for her.
Would we then align this with the pilot project?
Yeah, I think so, Your Worship.
I think my motion should include that it be part of the 30 applications and that it run until the program pilot project is to be reviewed.
December 31st,
2023.
Okay, folks, December 23rd, 2023, I'm being told by the clerk. Councillor Peters, your hand up again.
Yeah, thanks. Not to get into the weeds too much, but every property that's approved comes to term at the end of that period. So I'm not sure that would have to be indicated. If it was extended beyond the pilot, as with any other property or program, we'd have to address it, but it might be superfluous to have that language in there because it's built into the bylaw.
I just really said that from Ms. Van Ryan's, knowledge. I don't know if she was aware, but we've got this pilot, and let's have an end point. At some point, we're going to be reviewing it, of course.
I'll leave it up to the clerk whether she feels that the verbiage needs to be included in the motion.
Okay. Did we have a seconder on this?
Yes, Your Worship.
Yeah, you did.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion, councillors? All right. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for stopping by tonight, and good luck with that project.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to 11.2, we have Allison Shield and Joe Salmon from the Orangeville BIA to provide their 2021 budget presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. And Allison is going to share a screen now. Allison, can you bring that up? On this International Women's Day, I want to acknowledge all that are in attendance and also do a shout out to Allison and all of my other fellow board members that are women, because without them, we wouldn't be here tonight getting this organized. So Allison, thank you for everything that you and your staff have done to prepare for this. And Councillor Sherwood, thank you for being a part of our board. We really do appreciate it. Thank you. So moving right along, thank you for the opportunity to present. As an organization that supports small business with competing and often contradictory demands on its resources, the Orangeville BIA's mission is pursued through work in 5 strategic areas or pillars. These 5 pillars they inform all BIA decisions and often overlap with one another, as you will see as we move forward through this the following 2020 review and the 2021 preview. To say that 2020 was a difficult year for small business would be an understatement. We believe the Orangeville BIA successfully adapted to the challenges and was able to fulfill its mission and support the membership in a variety of ways. In-person visits in 2020 were not always possible. However, we are confident that overall member engagement increased despite of, and perhaps because of, the pandemic. Members reached out for support via email, telephone, and member Facebook groups, and staff was readily available to assist. Staff made the switch in mid-year to constant contact for weekly member update emails. So, pardon me. While I can't offer a year-to-date comparison, I am able to share that the average member newsletter open rates for these weekly member newsletters is 41%. This is quite impressive given the fact that the industry average is only 13%. So you can see the demand was there to be met. Downtown Orangeville social media presence ramped up in 2020 and included the following promotions and campaigns: the Did You Know series, Shop and Dine Local, takeout campaigns, curated gift guides, selfie and post share like contests, shopdowntownorangeville.ca summer and Christmas shopping videos. The social media stats shared on an upcoming slide will demonstrate our overall social media success. Engaging spaces, providing fun selfie opportunities and create a welcoming atmosphere with safe social distancing in mind. The events, socially distant farmers market. More details on the market will follow shortly as well. Starlight Shopping, self-driven Christmas shopping initiative, complete with live music delivered in a safe, socially distant manner. Traditional marketing in the hills, COVID-19 website revamp, radio newspaper, tourism ads, coupons, and hidden gems flyers. A 13 by 22 interactive mural was installed in October at the east wall of the Orangeville Outlet Center on Little York Street. Plans for 2 new Broadway murals are already in the works for 2021. The 12-foot skeleton, Halloween ghouls, and life-size polar bear seat created safe interactive activities, inspired fun selfie contest designed to encourage shopping in the downtown core. These seasonal installations can be reused year after year. Special thanks to the town of Orangeville, Parks and Recs Department, and their invaluable assistance in supporting these initiatives. Starlight Shopping featured local musicians playing for passing shoppers. It was a safe outdoor activity designed to entertain shoppers and provide incentive for businesses to extend their Friday hours during the Christmas season. Music was well received and provided performance opportunities for local musicians in a year when their opportunities were very scarce. The Hidden Gems summer flyers were distributed at the visitor center, area hotels, placed on car windshields, parked at trailheads, and the attached $10 off coupon served as a call to action to encourage hikers and other day trippers to support BIA businesses. Giant chess sets, Jenga games, Connect 4 have been purchased, and as soon as the health crisis is under control and it's safe to do so, these games will be placed in different areas around the downtown core on good weather weekends and rotated regularly. Task force volunteers ensured the brochure boxes were always filled and available for visitors. It's been a bit of a slow start, but the Shopify marketplace built for us by Green Monkey provides a great stepping stone for members new to e-commerce and provides more exposure for those businesses that are already sell online. BIA staff offers members lots of support and encouragement, and we hope to see more robust offerings as we move forward. Educating the public on the merits of hyper-local online shopping is an ongoing challenge, but as the site becomes more robust, we think the sales will improve. This slide is pretty self-explanatory. These organically achieved results are a great indicator of the great work that staff and Green Monkey have been doing to promote downtown Orangeville through social media. All things considered, the farmers market did quite well this year. Due to the pandemic, the market was not permitted to open in early May, but we were able to start the pre-order pickup model in late May. We were able to switch to a modified social distant market in June, and it ran until mid-October. The winter market was relocated to Tony Rose Arena to allow for social distancing. While almost all of the numbers are down this year, they show that the market has a very loyal core customer base. Special thanks again to the town of Orangeville staff for working with us to come up with solutions for the multiple changes that the market faced this year. Working together is an integral part for the BIA's mission, so we are always looking for ways to work with outside organizations and initiatives that benefit our community and support our downtown. BIA participates on several committees and boards, including Cultural Plan and Task Force, Business and Economic Development Advisory Committee, Heritage Orangeville, Orangeville Blues and Jazz Festival, bear with me here, Island Lake Stakeholder Advisory Committee, Dufferin County Economic Development Roundtable, the Greenbelt Tourism Strategy Advisory Committee. Collaboration with the town's Public Works and Parks and Rec Department on seasonal streetscapes initiatives and farmers market. Partnership with the town's Economic Development Department on various tourism advertising opportunities, grant applications, visitor guide production, and printing on the footsteps from our past booklets. Regular annual streetscapes initiatives plus some extra investment in seasonal displays through the relocation of event funds helped to invigorate downtown in a year that we really needed it. Adaptability was key to our success this year. BIA staff, the board, and the task force all pivoted to make the best of a very challenging situation. The Board of Management quickly reallocated funds to support the BIA's COVID response. Supporting members became our top priority this year. When reopening began, we were doing a delicate balancing act between attracting visitors, but not too many. The lack of public washrooms put an undue burden on business owners, so we are careful not to invite people to town that live more than a short drive away. As the situation evolved, the BIA shifted gears and began supporting members in various ways, depending on the type of business and opening stages. The 2021 forecast is based on traditional year's expenses. However, special projects funds has been built into the 2021 budget to support downtown COVID-19 recovery. Due to the unpredictability of the situation, the board decided against making firm decisions on the exact nature of BIA's recovery response, instead opting for a wait-and-see approach, but ensuring there is plenty of funds set aside for recovery initiatives. Timing is everything, and this approach will allow for more nimble decision-making. Staff will make recommendations based on timing, opportunity, need, member feedback, industry recommendations, and great ideas. In the meantime, 2020 initiatives will continue into 2021, and new initiatives will be added as and when the situation warrants. Parking is always a top priority for the BIA because it's always a concern for our members. There was a lot less strain on parking resources in 2020 due to the pandemic, so we are looking forward to days ahead when it's a bit harder to find parking space. Moving the transit transfer station to the Edelbrock Center will improve the transit system and preserve on-street parking spaces for our patrons. We look forward to the future development of 82 to 90 Broadway and the creation of additional public parking spaces. We anticipate the upcoming community improvement plan and parking strategy that will help, will help inform future decisions around parking for the coming years. Our member engagement strategy worked well last year, and we plan to build on it in 2021 by hosting virtual member meetups and encouraging members to better utilize the BIA member Facebook group. We hope to encourage members to engage and collaborate with each other more often. We recognize that members sharing their experience and successes with each other will go a long way in encouraging other members to try new things like extending their operating hours. We are planning a short member-to-member video series for this purpose. Our approach to customer attraction will be similar to 2020, with the hopes there will be more opportunity for active engagement. We will continue our two-pronged approach to advertising, social media, print and radio ads aimed at either locals or tourist market. Continued evolution of downtownorangeville.ca, collaborate with the town on implementation of tourism strategies, including branding, leveraging central counties and Orangeville tourism to promote downtown Orangeville, promote and develop more self-guided activities, implement street activation initiatives, and host safe social distance events as permitted by public health. Continue to promote and encourage businesses to open after 6 p.m. and on Sundays. Local takeouts and other video projects, continued development of shopdowntown.ca, expansion of Downtown Dollars gift card program. The sidewalk reconstruction project will provide great opportunities, but will create immense challenges for our Broadway businesses. The Canopy Share, life-size games, and cafe seating program will launch when the public health situation allows. The town's IT department has informed us that the downtown cameras should be installed very soon. The BIA staff will work with Parks and Rec on medians and seasonal displays. Now, this was one of the blade signs is one of the recommendations made by Roger Brooks in the community assessment, and we would like to thank the Better Together Task Force for their assistance in helping us build this program. Special thanks to Heritage Orangeville and the town of Orangeville for working with us to streamline the permit process and offering a reduced sign permit and on pre-selected sign frames. Working together is always best. BIA staff will continue to look for new opportunities to work with community partners. The town of Orangeville was very supportive of extending restaurant patios and outdoor merchandise displays in 2020, and we hope it will continue for 2021. Special thanks goes to Parks and Recs for supporting the farmers market and assisting us with all the seasonal decorations in 2020, and we hope that will happen again this year. I think we did a great job shifting gears whenever a new challenge or opportunity arose last year, and we're all committed to continuing with the same approach for 2021. Before we get into the more detailed budget, I want to share with you these two pie charts. Allison, can you go back a bit? Sorry. Oh, where are we? Sorry. Actually, yeah, sorry, there we go. As you can see, the 2020 and 2021 expenditures are quite similar with the exception of addition of the COVID-19 recovery fund in 2021. So before we move on, does anybody have any questions with regard to those two pie charts? Okay.
Can you go back, Joe?
Allison, can you go back one? There we go.
Yeah, thank you.
So as you can see, our expenditures are very, very similar, but we've added in 2021 the COVID recovery initiatives. Any questions, Councillor Taylor?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right, Allison, let's move right along. So,
great. There we go.
Okay, so as we can see here, this is a condensed version of the 2020 budget, the 2020 preliminary, and the 2021 budget going forward. You will see that our levies have not changed. Miscellaneous revenues in 2020, the actuals took a major hit from what our forecast was, but we're anticipating getting back up to speed with the 2021 budget. The one thing to keep in mind, please, is that although we are in the middle of a pandemic and we're coming out of some of the restrictive conditions, we don't yet know what 2021 is going to look like. So we have to base our budgeting on the assumption that we're all back to normal, and we will be able to pivot in the event that doesn't happen, and we'll make sure that we again have set plenty of money aside and perhaps more to come for COVID relief programs as well. So the numbers for the 2021 budget are on the assumption that we are back to some normality in our day-to-day lives. Okay, so expenses, our administrative costs, our wages, we're pretty much on par year after year. In 2020, we actually incurred more than we had budgeted for, not by much, but we incurred a little bit more simply because of the amount of strain and pressure that was put on our staffing to keep ahead of the curve and to stay on top of COVID initiatives to help people get through this. So we did incur additional salaries, and in 2021, we're anticipating keeping the exact same pace, if not ramping it up a little bit more to make sure that we're there for our members. Marketing, it is again very much on par with what was budgeted in 2020. Our actual in 2020, our actuals in 2020 was down a little bit due to a lot of social media attention and social media contacts rather than print material and things like that. COVID-19 recovery initiatives, as you can see, we spent a fair chunk of money in 2020 just getting things started to help people recover from COVID, and we have added considerably to that budget line for 2021 because we know as we come out of this, our members are going to need us now more than ever before. Parking, our costs for the mortgages on the assigned parking lots is roughly the same year after year. Mortgage payments do not change. What is changing is the percentage between principal and interest, and those numbers are available if anybody's interested in seeing that as well. The Blade Sign project, again, which was a recommendation from Roger Brooks, we had budgeted in 2020 for it. We were never able to launch it and get it off the ground simply due to COVID, so we are going back to that launch of it in 2021. We've earmarked $10,000 for the grant program. Depending on the success of it, we'll revisit that again, but we're waiting to see how our members engage this program to hang the signage outside of their storefronts. So there will be money there if we need to expand on the 10,000, but we felt it was a fair number to start with for the 2021 budget. Streetscape, we're spending more and more on trying to make this a beautified space, beautified space for visitors to attend and to attract traffic downtown. And I believe we did a very good job with our lighting for the season. And there were a couple of things that we've worked on and that Allison has arranged for it to improve in 2021. Events and farmers markets, as you can see quite clearly there, we were not able to participate and support as much as we would have loved to have. We couldn't help get some of these events off the ground in 2020, but we're hoping that they all recover in some form or fashion in 2021. So we have budgeted very much the same number, same dollar amount, with the hopes that again we can help everybody get back to normal. We're already in March, so it's quite obvious that some of the events, will not take place as we perhaps historically want them to be, but we hope that they can come back in some form, fashion, or another. Our total expenses budgeted for 2021 are going to be $568,594. Now, surplus and deficit. In 2020, we had a shortfall of 37,000 that we ended up not using, so it became a surplus in 2020. And for those of you that are not familiar with this, anything with a minus is in fact a plus. Anything without a minus is in fact a negative off of the balance sheet. But if we look at the actuals for 2020, we had a surplus of 54,594. We carried forward our reserve that we did not use that we had budgeted for, which now gives us a contribution to reserve now back of $91,594. Okay. Any questions so far, anybody? Okay. Now, moving right along, current year contribution to and from the reserves. Again, we had 37 that we took out of reserves last year. We had budgeted out of reserves. We put it back in. We have 91,000 that we are taking out in 2021. Our general reserve is quite healthy at $287,084. And our net accumulated BIA general reserve surplus is $195,490. Okay, which is your 287 minus your 91,000, bringing us to a net of 195,490. So again, very healthy. We are very, very well positioned to, as we indicated earlier in the presentation, to pivot when needed and to support our members when they call on us. We are being very, very careful with some of the initiatives that we do put into play, simply because we have to make sure that we manage that reserve very carefully, and we want to take care of those that need the help and provide as much assistance as we possibly can. So our outreach has been enhanced considerably in 2021, and I believe the feedback that we got from our AGM was quite obvious and quite a positive sign that our members are really but they're really starting to grasp and gain a foothold in what it is that we're doing for them and what we're trying to do on a day-to-day basis to get them through this. So thank you very much for the opportunity to present. I think it's important to note that our membership voted unanimously to accept the 2020 preliminary financial report and the 2021 budget at the BIA's AGM in January. So we would hope that we can expect the same from you this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Salmon.
Thank you so much.
Great. So council and those on board here, we're having some technical issues here. We would like to take a recess. I'm sorry in the midst of the BIA presentation, but it's really problematic.
Andy, you might Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, we got the technical issue resolved here, so our apologies. Mr. Samet, sorry to cut you off there in the middle, but you had completed your presentation, sir?
Yes, I don't know what or how much you heard or saw, but we were right.
I personally saw it all, and it was just, we needed to pull the plug there right at the end, so sorry. So councillors, any questions for Ms. Shield or Mr. Samet?
Yes.
Yeah, Councillor Andrews, go ahead, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Your Worship, and Mr. Samet and Ms. Shield, thank you very much for the presentation. I have to again commend the BIA for its resiliency, the members for its resiliency in these times, and upon review of the information that you have presented, I think that the forward thinking that you have implemented into this budget is reflective of the times, but more importantly, I think that the approach that you're also applying is bang on, and I applaud again what your organization and the members of the business community have had to go through. But perseverance is a part of, I think, one of the words that is being applied in addition to pivoting and being prepared for anything that may be coming down the pipeline as we look forward to better days ahead. But again, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you very much, Councillor Andrews. Thank you.
Okay. Any other councillors wish to comment? Right. So I guess we need a motion to receive this information.
And to approve.
To approve the budget, yes. Very good. Okay, let me read this. I'm sorry, folks. The BIA 2020 preliminary financial report presented be approved, and that the BIA 2020 annual surplus be transferred to BIA reserves, and the BIA 2021 budget of $568,594, including a BIA levy of $400,000, other revenue of $17,000, and a contribution from reserves of $91,594 be approved. May I have a motion on that, please? Deputy Mayor McIntosh, seconded by Councillor Taylor. Any further commentary, councillors? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, BIA. You're doing a good job. Appreciate all your work. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
With you all.
Good night, guys.
Good night, thanks.
All right, our next presentation is Bernadette Hardiker. Ms. Hardiker, are you on board?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Good. I just wanted to tell you how wonderful you all look. I'm afraid I can't join you by video, but I am doing my best this way. I'm speaking in regard to the removal of the holding symbol rather, on 62A to 68 First Street. I've lived in the neighborhood since 1994. And I understand that the province requires municipalities to intensify, and I have no objection in principle to the development of more housing on these 4 parcels of land. However, I have a few questions around 3 points: green space, trees, and lighting. And I just ask that these questions be considered in the final site plan approval. My first question is, where is the parkland allocation for this development? I see on the site plan there's a 1-lot green space, which would be about 117 square meters, that is shared with an accessible parking place. And what I'd like to know is how this 1-lot green space satisfies the town's parkland dedication bylaw, which I believe is 47/2012.
Right. This has been spoken to previously, but if you could finish your questions, and then we'll call on Mr.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I've gone through and looked at whatever information I can find. I just didn't see an answer to these questions, so I'm just asking them. So my question was that this 1-lot green space was, it seems to me that this is for the private use of the residents of the the complex, not the wider public, if that's indeed what the parkland allocation would be. I also like to understand how this development shows forward thinking in a time of increased climate change and environmental sensitivity. There's more green space around a 50-year-old development like the Bromount than there is on this one. Again, if the town is taking cash in lieu of parkland allocation, I would like to know how much we're getting and what its intended use is. Which also leads to the question of how much the town received for 60 First Street, the prior development, and how that money was used. 5%, a 5% parkland allocation, creating a green space on First Street would be a tremendous benefit to the community, a tremendous opportunity, probably the last opportunity to provide public green space in a highly developed part of town, which would benefit not just the dwellers of the development, but the entire neighborhood. Why not take the 7 of those units in that one corner and turn them into a public park, and then turn the center court of the development and repurpose it to mid-rise affordable rental units? Just a suggestion. My second comment is about trees, and I'd like to know what commitment there is to plant and maintain new trees to replace the trees that will be removed during construction, some of which are a significant size. And I'd like to know how this is maintained or enforced going into the future. I think any of you will remember the many mature maple trees that lined the property, the former property at 62 First Street, that were removed when the new complex was built. By my count, today, four trees have been planted on the current 61st Street property. My final point is about lighting, and I wonder how the town will ensure that the developer uses shielded lighting that prevents night sky pollution and light spillage to surrounding neighbors. And I speak from experience because the lighting at 61st Street is so intrusive that when I open my front door on Feed Street, 150 feet away, the street light from the townhouses behind me spills through my entire house. And I have photos that I'd be happy to share with you. And I did contact the town at the time and did speak with the economic development advisor, who quoted the site plan agreement saying, any and all exterior lighting introduced on the buildings or property and any and all lighting from signage shall be of the full cutoff variety, i.e. no light will be permitted to leave the property and spill onto neighboring properties or roadways. So those are my questions and my concerns, which I'm happy to share with staff. I just would like to register them and ask they be considered in this final site plan approval. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Ward, but I believe the site plan has already been determined. So you're maybe late to the party here, Ms. Hardiker. I do believe that the issue with respect to lighting will be addressed by town staff, but I'm going to let Mr. Ward weigh in here on the planning issues, the parkland dedication, and you can share with us your decisions and where we are at this point, Mr. Ward.
Certainly, thank you, Your Worship, and through you. So there was essentially 3 questions raised, and I'll try to go through them one by one if I can. The first with respect to parkland dedication. So there is a private amenity area included within this development that's exclusively for the townhouse residents in this development. Now, having said that, this development will still need to fulfill its parkland dedication obligations under the Planning Act, and those requirements apply consistently to all residential developments throughout the town. Obviously, it's not practical for every site to provide public parkland. So therefore, the Planning Act allows for cash in lieu of parkland to be provided to the town, which is collected as part of a development approval. And then that money gets put towards the town's broader parkland initiatives in accordance with its parkland master plan in particular. So this development is not dissimilar for those other developments that have been approved, particularly with respect to the adjacent development at 60 to 62 First Street, and is subject to the same parkland dedication requirements. With respect to trees, as part of the site plan package, there is a landscaping plan that's submitted that includes various landscaping features throughout the development site. That would be approved as part of the site plan application, and the way we ensure that the development proceeds according to the approved plans is we enter into an agreement with the developer. And included with that agreement, the developer must provide securities to the town, basically to assure that the site is constructed and completed to our satisfaction. And the securities are only released at a time in which the development has been constructed and accepted or reviewed in accordance with those approved plans. The last question with respect to lighting, the lighting plan, an illumination plan, essentially has been submitted with the site plan application. And what it does is it shows the illumination values within the site and around the periphery. And that plan demonstrates that the lighting values around the perimeter of the property are basically at a null amount. So you will not be anticipated to get light spillage onto neighboring properties. And as is similar with all site plan documents, it's reviewed and approved, and again, expected that the site adheres to that plan.
Mr. Ward, Ms. Hardiker was referring to 6062 First Street as far as the lighting. Was that property also, does the zero or no lighting refer to that site as well?
To your worship, I'm not, I don't have the specifics in front of me with respect to that approval. It was some time ago, so I'm not certain as to the particular plans that form part of that approval.
Right. Well, I'm wondering if you or one of your staff could maybe look into that for Ms. Hardiker. On the parkland dedication, how is it calculated? That was the question I think Ms. Hardiker was asking.
Certainly, it is 5% of the developable area, and it is based on an appraised value of the site that is done, that's supposed to be appraised based on its value at the time of building permit issuance.
Okay. Very good. And that just goes into our coffers to create more parkland work. So
that's correct.
Yeah. So Ms. Hardiker, does that answer your questions, ma'am?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, I'm sorry, Mr. Ward, I think I got your name correct. I appreciate you taking the time to answer my questions. I guess just one quick rebuttal would be just as far as the landscaping plan, it's great that securities are, the developer is required to provide securities, but once the trees are planted and the buildings are built, and the developer turns over the site to the corporation, the condominium corporation, is it their responsibility to make sure that new trees are watered properly and nurtured so that they replace the canopy that has been removed by this development?
Mr. Ward.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, it does essentially eventually become the responsibility of the condominium corporation to maintain those common element landscape features. I will note, mind you, that as part of the site plan approval process, once the site has been the landscaping has been completed, there's essentially a 1-year warranty window that has to expire with everything being maintained in good health before the final securities are released as part of the site plan approval process.
Okay, that's really reassuring. As far as the parkland allocation, yes, I understand parkland allocation, and you said 5% of appraised value. So can you put a number on that?
Through your worship, to the question, I don't have that exact number at this time. Where we are sort of in the final stages of the site plan review and approval process, and as part of that, we'll be reviewing their appraisal document and making that calculation at that time.
So just to be clear, Mr. Ward, you said at the time building permits are issued. So at that point, you would have, in this case, 40 or 41 lots. And there would be a valuation placed on those lots that were approved in the site plan? Is that how you come up with the number?
It's essentially correct. The technical language is it's valued on the day before the date that the permits may be issued.
Okay. So, but this would be post site plan. So, I mean, it is the 41 lots versus the previous value, which was just a couple of residential lots. Is that correct?
Certainly, yes, and really the intent of that is to ensure that the lands are giving a realistic development value. They're not being assessed as unimproved lands. They're being assessed as lands, that the work has gone in, land use permissions have been established. They're essentially shovel ready.
Oh, Ms. Hardiker, I can tell you I'm involved in a lot severance myself in Shelburne. The lot levy for the parkland dedication is $100,000 for the lot, so it's 5%. So I paid $5,000. So that's my experience on one lot. The value of these townhouse lots, I don't know, but they'll be determined, and the cash will come to the municipality.
It's truly a fantastic opportunity for the town to recover revenue that can be used for further parkland development. My concern, however, is that we continue to use these high density projects in the developed part of town to fund other areas of town that don't need the parkland as more critically as the intensified parts of town. So great, we're getting the money. Great that it's going to go into a fund. Great that it'll be used for future parkland development. But my point is that this is an intensified part of town. There isn't a piece of green space between Broadway and Highway 10. We're adding more homes. There will be lots of children, lots of young people and elderly people. It's a long stretch when you walk down First Street with a few benches here and there. How nice would it be to have some public-facing green space so that people can enjoy the a little bit of relief from concrete and building space. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, agreed. However, as you know, just down the street from you is a huge park at ODSS and in the town lands and in the schoolyard there. Also, Rotary Park is a short walk from this location. There are a lot of parklands in this area. First Street's a major thoroughfare. It's commercial thoroughfare for the most part, and we're doing the best we can. And
okay. Well, thank you. I thank you for your comments. I appreciate your feedback. Anyway, I won't take up any more time from council. I just wanted to register my comments, and thank you again for your time.
All right. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Okay, moving on to staff reports. We have 12.1. Sorry, Taylor, you wanted to speak? I'm sorry.
Yeah, if I may, I would just like to thank Ms. Hardiker for coming, and it's unfortunate that it's out of the time frame for these developments. She's, to your point, Your Worship, she's late to the party on these, but the comments that are brought forward are spot on, right, in terms of green space, trees, and lighting, and I'd like to see us do a little bit better job as we go forward. And the piece of it is council can't stop pricing. So the market will bear what the market will bear. And I registered for those homes, not because I want to buy one, but because I wanted to know what was going on. And the price of those is $730,000. And as those people that like real estate, typically when you buy a new home, it's about 10%. So you add 73,000 of that, you're over $800,000. So these are not starter homes. They are higher end townhouse homes that are on a major thoroughfare and unfortunately don't have a lot of trees and are causing issues in terms of lighting for the other residents. So there's no solution here. It's just, I'd like to say that Ms. Hardacre makes some really good points, and I think it's incumbent upon us as council to be aware of these things as we're having infill. And you can walk all over that area, the older part of Orangeville. Unfortunately, that's a lot of what's going to be happening as these older homes are sold and new development comes into the area. Intensification based on the land use is where we're at. So it's heartbreaking, but the reality is that's where we're going, and I think we need to take her comments, with Godspeed and think them through as we make these next decisions. It's too late on this one, but kudos to her.
We are somewhat handcuffed with provincial legislation on these matters as well. So
we are, Your Worship. I agree.
I want to suggest that we can't affect change, but it is difficult. And Mr. Ward and the developer worked long and hard on negotiating this. And frankly, the other townhouse project that is there has been successful. I think we could have used a little more parking, a little more playground area. I know Councillor Sherwood mentioned the playground as we were going through this discussion. I think parking is visitor parking needed to be improved, and I think we did talk about that as well. So yeah, it's you're right. It's a conundrum. It
is.
Councillor Sherwood, I see your hand up.
Yes, Your Worship. One of the things that I would like to maybe add to Councillor Taylor's thought process is we as council have the power to designate more heritage properties, and with almost 500 properties in the town of Orangeville in the non-designated heritage, we have those powers to designate buildings which would actually protect them from demolition. So in the case of this particular property, there was one property right in the middle that was a heritage property. We didn't protect it by having it designated. So that's something we can be very mindful too, is if we want to make sure that these types of situations don't happen, let's take a look at our heritage buildings and designate more of them. We have that opportunity.
Thank you, Councillor Sherwood. Councillors, any further commentary here before we move along? Okay, so let's move on to 12.1 then. This is the 2021 outdoor patio display and merchandise bylaw. This, of course, is part of our COVID relief that we put forward last year, and wanting to continue it this year. A number of restaurants took advantage of it, and this is expanding and including the display of merchandise for those businesses that wish to do this. Any comments from councillors on this? Councillor Sherwood?
Yes, Your Worship. Through you to, I'm sorry, the author of the report. Sorry, I'm just quickly trying to find this here. Can maybe
Ms. Phillips, Ruth Phillips and Ray Osmond co-authored this.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I was just quickly trying to interrupt. Can you explain to me why the difference in the you want the temporary patio license season to go from April 1st to November 30th, but then the expansion to include 2 parking spaces to only be May 1st to November 31st. Is there a particular reason why those 2 dates aren't coordinating with each other? Mr. Osmond?
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Sherwood. A quick response on that one is in our collaboration with Public Works and with planning, we looked at the time of the year. And our concern was if we use the parking spaces and we got business involving in their parking spaces and we could get snow later in March and April, and we didn't want to take that risk. So we moved the use of the parking spaces into May, where we thought we'd have a bit more safer condition in terms of the weather.
If I could just have a follow-up, Your Worship.
Go ahead.
So I would just wonder if we could have those 2 dates coordinate with each other, because, you know, for the sake of the businesses, they want to get their patios set up and up and running. I just don't see why we can't. Our snow removal program ends April 1st, and you know, that's just my whole thought about the process. I think that they coordinate just to make it easier for the businesses to get their patios up and running.
Sure, I see Mr. Jones weighing in here. Mr. Jones, go ahead, sir.
Through your worship to Councillor Sherwood, the idea was that we did extend out the patio season last year into the winter during the season when winter control is in effect, and we were quite successful with it. There were clauses included that the applicants had an understanding that were we to contact them and ask them to remove their street furniture to allow us to undertake winter control, that they would do that. The expectation is that that would continue this year. However, the setups out on the parking spaces are somewhat more robust and would be more difficult to set up and break down. And certainly in April, we often do still get a fair bit of winter weather. While our seasonal staff work from December 1st to March 31st, our full-timers continue to undertake winter control whenever it's required, and certainly into April, and that's why there was this difference.
Thank you. Okay, so councillors, we have this, let me just read it again. This is a report dated March the 8th that we received, and the council passed bylaws amending the Outdoor Boulevard Cafe and Display Merchandise bylaws for the period of up to November 30th, 2021, and as outlined in this report, and the planning staff be directed to amend the Outdoor Boulevard Cafe applications and permits accordingly. May I have a motion to approve this? Councillor Peters, seconded by Councillor Andrews. Any further comments, councillors? Councillor Post, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Jones. I just have a quick question about the sidewalk rehabilitation that we're doing this year. Is that going to be impacted at all by any of our patios, or is there a clause that needs to be added for an understanding for the businesses to have to remove patios or merchandise when that reconstruction is going on?
Mr. Jones.
Through your worship to Councillor Post, absolutely, this is something that we're going to need to consider. We are currently working with a consultant to develop options that we are then going to be bringing forward to the public, the BIA, as well as to council to look at. This project, of course, was something that we had considered doing in 2020 as part of the 2020 budget, and the pandemic got in the way of that. Originally, the plan had been to move forward with that construction work in the fall to allow the summer festival season to pass in any normal year, and to allow for the tourist season in the summer to be had before we got into construction. We're thinking along the same lines this year, but certainly there's going to be consultation with the BIA as well as the patio owners with respect to what they set up and when. But certainly as we move through construction, there'll be a need to break down patios if they are still up.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So there's no need to add anything at this time, though. We can wait and deal with that after, would be the thought.
My understanding is that the approval does continue to include a clause that indicates that they would need to remove it if staff indicated that they needed to do so. So I don't believe that there's anything in addition that needs to be added.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Just as a follow-up, Mr. Jones, just wondering, when you do get to that sidewalk work, is it going to be segmented?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, please?
Well, will the work be segmented? And you know, I think people are concerned about the time that the sidewalks are going to be disrupted, and just wondering what sort of length of sidewalk will you be tackling as you go through the process? Do you have that figured out yet?
I mean, we're in early stages. We haven't decided exactly what sort of replacement we're going to be putting in for the interlocking brick that are currently there. However, we fully recognize the challenges that all of the downtown businesses have faced and imposing a long closure on them for this sort of construction would be fairly tone deaf at this point. I think we are going to try and as you say, segment it, phase it as best we can, so that the construction work in front of any individual business will be minimized to the extent possible, wrapped up, and then we would move on to the next section. All of this is going to be part of our consultation. The BIA has certainly reached out to us. They are very interested in consulting with us on this, and there will be much discussion about this in the coming weeks and months.
Very good. Councillor Taylor, I saw you have your hand up there, sir.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Mr. Jones's comments and his quotation of tone deaf answered it all for me. I think we all need to just be very aware that we have businesses hanging by a thread, and we need to ensure that we're working with them. So thank you, Mr. Jones, for your very sensitive comments. I appreciate it.
All right. Okay, so we did have a motion there, Council. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on. Next item is this is the 62A and 68 First Street, and so let me pull this up. So the recommendation of staff is that the report INS 2021-013 is 62A and 68 First Street. Recommendation report RZH 2020-01 be received, and that the removal of holding symbol application RZH 2020-01 and bylaw included as attachment number 4 of this report be approved, and the council allocate water and sewage treatment services to the proposed 40 townhouse units, and that the bylaw included as attachment number 5 of this report be enacted to repeal bylaw 4770 in part, applying only to the subject property to reinstate subject lands as lots 3 and 4 within registered plan 275. May I have a motion on this, councillors? Councillor Taylor, seconded by Deputy Mayor McIntosh. Any further comment from councillors on this matter? All in favor?
Yes.
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 All right, moving on to new businesses report. We have received the report of new businesses starting in Orangeville from October 1st, 2020 through January 31st, 2021. I think this is from Ms. Phillips, I believe, and Mr. Osmond. Did you wish to speak to this, Mr. Osmond or Ms. Phillips?
Through you, Your Worship, to Council, this is just a standardized information report that staff provides on a regular basis, periodically to Council.
Very good. So this is a motion that reports CMS 2020-003 dated March 3rd, 2021 be received. May I have a motion? Councillor Post, seconded by Councillor Andrews. Any discussion? All in favor?
I believe Councillor Andrews wants to
Oh, I'm
discuss.
sorry, Councillor Andrews, you want to speak?
I kept my hand up there.
Go ahead, Councillor Andrews.
Thank you very much, and I just wanted to take a second to thank the businesses for committing to our community, especially in these times. You know, you take a look at that last quarter, in fact, straddling into this new year, and it is wonderful that they have done so under trying times, but some great news for those that are part of our community, that we have some resiliency, but some people who are willing to look at our community to support it in different ways. So I congratulate those businesses.
Very good. All right, so back to our motion to vote on. All in favor again, please?
Yes.
It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to correspondence. We have 13.1 and 13.2. May I have a motion to receive this correspondence, please? Councillor Sherwood, second by Councillor Taylor. Any comments or questions on this, Councillor Post?
I think for 13.1, there's another piece other than just receiving, because it's a bylaw authorizing to remove the easement.
Okay, let's get to that. Okay, so
Is there anybody on the hydro board that can speak to this? Anyone?
Right. So, this was explained to me earlier today that there was a historical easement that has been there for some time. Orangeville Hydro was approached after the owners of the property have requested the easement be granted back to them in full, and Orangeville Hydro has responded that they are not desirous of this easement any longer. So the recommendation is that council pass a bylaw authorizing the mayor and clerk to sign the acknowledgement and direction for the transfer, release, and abandonment of the easement on 38 Glen Forest Drive. Thank you, Councillor Post, for bringing that to my attention. My apologies. So, Mayor, if you have a motion to that, please. Deputy Mayor McIntosh, Councillor Andrews, any further comments?
Your Worship?
Yes, Councillor Sherwood.
Yes, Your Worship, through you perhaps to the treasurer if she's online tonight. Would this easement provide further assessed value onto that property that would require MPAC to reassess that property?
Madam Treasurer.
Through Your Worship to Councillor Sherwood, can you repeat that question for me one more time? Sorry about that.
I'm just wondering if we're conveying this easement to the property owner, would that not ultimately change the value of the property and therefore be required to be reassessed by MPAC?
Yes or no. Yes and no, I should say. It really depends on the circumstance and also the value of the existing value of the property. If council wishes, I can bring further information to council.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. Councillor Sherwood, the easement only grants access to the property. It doesn't. It's not an ownership transfer.
It's not?
No. The homeowner still owns that land. The easement is only granting access to that area. So I don't believe, personally, my experience, that this is going to have any impact on value. But I don't know, Mr. Jones or Mr. Ward might weigh in on that. Any thoughts there? The easement is just access, correct?
Through you, Your Worship, yes, you're correct. An easement is a right of access. They still own the property. With that said, it is an encumbrance on the property, but I really have no idea whether it would change the assessed value when it's removed.
You'd be surprised, Councillor Sherwood, how many easements and right-of-way accesses there are on town properties, residential properties. I used to own a property on Still Court, and there's a drainage easement at the back of the property, which we learned when we went to buy that. So anyway, we'll have.
I respect that, Ms. Your Worship. But however, we have to be mindful of our assessment database, and we have to manage it and be fair.
Right. Well, Madam Treasurer has said she will report back to us, and so hopefully on the 22nd at our next meeting we can have a short report from her. Thank you. All right. Moving on to 13.2. Did we vote on that? I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, did we vote on that? We did not.
Okay. I'm not asking for a motion for that to come back, Your Worship. I don't think we need to put the treasurer through that, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
I got clarification from Mr. Jones with explanation of the easement, and I don't want the treasurer having to go through that detail.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Sherwood. All right, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, 13.2. This is just a receipt of correspondence, Madam Clerk, correct? Okay, sorry. Can we have a motion to receive 13.2, please? Councillor Taylor, second by Councillor Post. Any comments on this item? All in favor?
Yes.
All right. Moving on to 14, we have Board minutes from Heritage Orangeville. May we have a motion to receive these minutes, please? Councillor Taylor, second by Councillor Sherwood. Any commentary on these minutes? Councillors? None. All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to 15, notices of motion prior to meeting. Councillor Post, would you like to speak to this? 15.
Sure. I think it's all pretty clear out there. I won't go through and read it. It's just an ask that we change the start time of our burn permits to be from 6 o'clock to 3 o'clock p.m. just to allow residents in our community to enjoy their backyard with a fire a little earlier in the day. The reason for this is just that COVID has really made families spend a little bit more time in their own backyards, and we've had a couple of asks from residents, and it's a pretty easy fix. Right now it's set that it would expire at the end of 2021, and we could make a decision to extend it beyond that if we wanted to, but at this point I'm just asking until the end of 2021.
Okay. All right, Councillor Peters.
Thanks through you to Mr. Brenner, perhaps, or the Deputy Mayor. What was the original rationale on the hours set? Did it have anything to do with fire capacity? Anything like that?
Deputy Mayor McIntosh.
Actually, I was going to speak on this and ask why 3 o'clock. It originally was 12 p.m. to 11 p.m. There was no real rationale why the new council come along and changed it. It was after I left the position of chief. They changed it and really minimized it, but it used to be 12 o'clock. So I was also going to ask, could we make it 12 p.m. and as it was before?
I'm absolutely supportive of that. The ask from the residents that I spoke to was to have it at least at 3 o'clock. So I'm happy for it to be lunchtime as well. I think that's a great idea.
All right, so this is your motion, Councillor Post. Do you want to amend that for Deputy Mayor's suggestion to noon?
Sure, yep, I'm happy to do that.
Okay, Council, any further commentary on this? Councillor Taylor?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Mr. Osmond. I understand Mr. Osmond has fire under him. Did anybody speak with Chief Morton and find out if this was amiable for him?
Mr. Osmond.
Through Your Worship to Councillor Taylor, I have no knowledge of anyone speaking to the chief on this matter, so I'd have to refer to the chief, and if you want me to, I can come back and report in the next meeting.
All right.
Well, thank you, Mr. Osmond.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion on the floor here. This is amending Councillor Post's motion that is before us to noon till 11 p.m. Any further comments before we vote on this? All right, Councillor Taylor, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Just the very fact that we didn't check with the chief seems like an odd thing to me that is probably a miss, but intuitively, and I think we're all intelligent people here using our critical thinking skills, I can't imagine why we wouldn't, but it does feel like we probably should have consulted with the chief prior to moving forward.
Councillor Post.
I didn't directly speak with the chief, but my understanding are the residents that I had spoken to had spoken with the fire department, and they'd had multiple requests for the same thing. And the one resident in particular that I spoke to had indicated that they were supportive of it changing. They were just enforcing the bylaw that was already there. They had no concerns with the way that the bylaw was before the previous council changed it. So that's my understanding. I'm happy to hold off if there's a desire to speak to the fire department ahead of time. I'm just not sure that it's necessary.
Councillor Taylor?
Yes, Your Worship, thank you. Through you to Councillor Post. No, I don't want to make a amount out of this either. To me, anything that we can do in this very trying time that we're all in and give people something to do, we should be bending over backwards to do it. I respect Chief Morton, and I guess it's all of our faults and my fault for not reaching out to him prior, but certainly going to support your initiative, and I thank you for bringing it forward.
Thank you.
Councillor Taylor, all burn permits have to go in front of the fire department, so they had an opportunity to weigh in, I guess, on any future.
Yeah.
I guess. And as Councillor Post has put in her motion, this is just for 2021. We'll have an opportunity to revisit it at the end of 2021 if there's issues. We'll address them. If not, we can extend or stop it at that point. So, thank you, Councillor Post. We have a motion on the floor. All in favor of this? I'm sorry?
Mayor, can you just remind me who this
I'll do that.
Post and Taylor, is that right?
Yes, please.
Post is amended, or was it McIntosh? I forget now. Taylor. All right, very good. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Councilor Post. Okay, any notices of motion at meeting? Seeing none. New business. I have one quick one, and I don't count any other councilors have, but I was just notified during the meeting today that Wellington, Dufferin Guelph Public Health has now got the reservations for the vaccination center starting at age 70 now, which has now been published. So I wanted the council and the public to know, if you're over the age of 70, you can now book your inoculation. So that's new business. Councilor Sherwood.
Yes, Your Worship. I just wanted to remind the general public that now that some of the restrictions have been lifted a bit, we are once again we've opened up the Winter Farmers Market in the Tony Rose Arena B facility, and we will be going having that market every other week, and so the next one will be March 20th.
Very good. Councilors, any further new business so anybody wants to share? Seeing none, question period. Madam Clerk, we have no questions registered. So now we're on to our bylaws. This is bylaws 19.1 through 19.9. Can we have a motion to approve these bylaws, please? Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor Andrews. Any further comments? All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. And a motion to adjourn, please. Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor Andrews. All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. All the best.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, folks.
Good night.